slice it. But when I was growing up, there was just all the older generation of guys. And I thought those guys at the time were really old. And it turns out they weren't so old after all. But that's right, it's all relative. So anyway, I felt like I had immediately, 50 grandfathers because they all wanted to show me all their stuff. They really appreciated somebody taking interest in their music because a lot of times the people in their family, my grandpa or my uncle plays the fiddle some. I don't know anything about it, not much interested in it. And but now it's really funny because I'm putting a lot of the recordings I made in the 70s and a lot of video I actually took a little later on as camcorders became available, and I'll put some old video up of some guy and suddenly I'll see a comment. That's my granddad, someone will have somehow searched and found there's their grandpa playing the fiddle and they never knew that they played the fiddle. Yeah, so it's pretty gratifying to, wasted all that time and finally have somebody come back and see some value in it, Because playing the fiddle, the way I learned since I didn't take lessons, was all about loafing around, and that's what we called it. You had to loaf a long time and hang out with someone. You had to get to know them. Sometimes they'd share a little bit, and then when you got to know them a little better, then pretty soon they're opening up and showing you all their good stuff, and playing all their obscure tunes, so it was big fun. So in Missouri there, I played with a guy named Pete McMahon a lot when I was growing up, and Taylor McBain was another fella I learned from very early on. And then I started, as I got older, playing in fiddle contests. There were lots of fiddle contests in Missouri, but they were all in little rural communities. And so I got going kind of up into North Missouri, which is where my family was from. I was actually born in the northwestmost county of Missouri. So north of us would have been Iowa, a little northwest would have been Nebraska, and then a little west would have been Kansas. So it's kind of a corner where 4 states come together. But there was a fiddler up there named Cyril Stinnett, who I learned a tremendous amount of stuff from, and he played left-handed. So I probably play more of his tunes than anybody else. I probably play more of Cyril's tunes than anybody, single fiddler, other than things I've learned from recordings, because I've learned a lot of things as I've been older from recordings and from wherever I could pick them up, But so we're going to play a few of his tunes first, and I'm going to start with one called The Boys Around the World, and it's in the key of A. Now, one of the things about this area, which I call the Missouri Valley, because the Missouri River runs up through from St. Louis, and it goes pretty much straight across the state, and then when it gets to Kansas City, it takes a sharp north turn and forms the westernmost border of Missouri between Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and it runs along the western border of Iowa is the Missouri River. So we call it the Missouri Valley, and we kind of delineate there's a style of fiddle playing. But I don't mind, you can record video. I'll do cheek swabs if anybody wants to. DNA, is okay. So that's what we call the Missouri Valley region, and Missouri Valley style, we kind of started calling it because there was a particular way they played and a particular repertoire of tunes. So I delineate a style of fiddling has particular technical things, and then there's usually a repertoire associated with a style of fiddle playing. So this tune, Boys Around the World, it happens that in that area of the world, there's a lot of Danes settled in that country, people from Denmark, and they played button accordions. And so this tune rhythmically, I'll play for you in just a second, has a rhythm very much like a Danish polka. So even though it's a fiddle tune, but this tune has kind of the rhythmic feel of these old Danish polkas they would have played on button accordion. So let me just play a little bit for you. But it's a really fun tune.
What's it called?
It's called The Boys Around the World. Let me see if I'm tuned there. If it's close enough here for a small town like this. So here we go with The Boys Around the World. That's got the little squeak in there, you know, that you ever heard the old thing with the mousetrap?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that, so a little squeak. That's a good trick you can take home and show people, the mousetrap, yeah.